All right, we're live. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and thank you guys for joining us on today's webinar. It's a beautiful day here in Los Angeles, California. My name is Ken Miguel, and here with me is Manny Aguilar.
How you doing, everybody?
And Mr. Mike Lugo.
How's everybody doing this morning?
All right, and these guys have prepared a very nice webinar for us today here on some of the stuff that I think is important for you guys as security dealers and resellers to know. This webinar is brought to you by Bolide Technology Group. With over 26 years of experience in this industry, we carry just the latest and greatest in CCTV surveillance and technology. Just want to mention that we are an ISO certified distributor, and we're also a GSA certified vendor for video surveillance. All right, so today's webinar, unique solutions, titled Smarter 5 Megapixel HD over Coax Solution. Okay, before we go ahead and talk about this webinar and start it, we have a questions box on your screen. If you guys want to ask any questions, feel free to type in your questions and we'll answer them as we go through the webinar. Also, stick around until the end of the webinar. After we give our contact information, we are going to have something special for you guys who attended our webinar. Okay, you guys ready to go?
Let's go.
All right. So we're talking about cameras and DVRs here, right? So, you know, a topic that, you know, this stuff's been around forever, but we want to go over what makes this new solution unique, right, for today's market in 2019, right? We've seen high definition go into analog. We've seen different formats get developed, but okay, that's great. But what sells now? What's new now in 2015 aside from just higher resolution, right? And I always say, you know, the way that we develop products is not only do we want to make them look better, we want to make them smarter, right? So we're going to divide this webinar into two parts, and the first will be the cameras, how they work, what's available, what they look like, and how they help you on your projects and installations. We're going to talk about the entire solution, right? So what are the benefits of this type of solution, pros and cons. We're going to talk about the DVR. A lot of the additions are on the DVR. We're going to go over the DVR GUI, you know, how to enable features, you know, what these features are and why this stuff is now available to you that hasn't been available before. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so the topic is the 5 megapixel smarter HD over Coax, right? So let's start with the first part, Manny, the cameras. And on the marketing material, we show Angelo 9. What is Angelo 9?
So very simple. Angelo 9 is a camera that has 9 different formats, and that's great for installers because you know, you can use one camera for new and existing systems. So for example, if you're replacing a camera on an existing system, you don't have to worry about whether it's an HD, TVI, CVI, or analog system. And that, if you look at the little chart here that we have, the camera does 5 megapixel, 4 megapixel, 2 megapixel in AHD, and TVI also does the 4 or the 5, 4, and 2 megapixel. CVI does 4 megapixel and 2 megapixel, and of course we do analog as well. So Mike, how do we access these different formats?
That's a good question, Manny. So I have a lot of customers that call in and they can't get to the different modes or not sure how. It can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So it has a 5-way toggle switch. And what I mean by that is it goes up, down, left, right, and in. In will get you to the OSD, but holding it in a direction will get you the different modes. Up will be analog, which on the label says CVBS. Left would be AHD, right would be TVI, and down would be CVI. Out of the box, we're looking at AHD. So yeah, AHD 5 megapixel. We'll go over how to change in between the different megapixel settings from 2, 4, 5 in a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to go over this first so you guys know how to actually change the modes.
And going back to this mic, we know we work with dealers all the time, and there's analog systems out there that needs replacement cameras, but not doing a full upgrade. All the formats will work, right?
Yep.
And also the issue with too many companies coming out with formats, video formats, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Too many, and it causes issues, especially now you're dealing with TVI 5 meg, HD 2 meg, CVI 4 meg. What works with what?
Exactly. And one of the upsides of these cameras is as you replace cameras, eventually when it's time to replace the recorder, you can just switch all the cameras, back to 5 meg, get a new recorder and a whole new system.
Yeah, I think the value is too is if you're selling it. So you have one camera in your truck, right? You sell it as a 5 meg for a new customer, and then if you get calls for replacement cameras, take the same camera, change out the format, and
having a universal tool for everything. Yep.
Yep.
So let's get a little bit into resolution. What is 5 meg? Now you can see on the screen there that basically the resolution that has to do a lot with the way the picture comes out, the shape basically. You can see the 3 and 4 are pretty much almost on the same width, height, but it's 4 megapixels a lot wider. 5 megapixel is both wider and solid. But what does that mean? Basically high pixel density. How does that translate? So the perfect example. If you have a 2 megapixel high def camera and you got a parking lot, you're trying to catch a license plate, you can see on the bottom, I can hardly see that license plate at all. But on the top, because of the high pixel density, I'm able to do a digital zoom and grab that license plate. That's one of the biggest pluses to having higher megapixels on your cameras.
Well, what if you just have a 1080 monitor?
So yeah, perfect example would be 1080 monitor. So you're only going to see 1080. So why would I need a 5 megapixel? This is the perfect example. That digital zoom, you're going to have less pixelization. So you'll be able to have a clear picture on a digital zoom. Basically, is what that's for. Yeah.
Especially on recorded video, right? Like
especially it's
something that you already backed
That's
up.
A good point, because older analog systems, you weren't able to do a digital zoom on recorded footage. Now you can. And that's the main point. That's what you want to. You're doing it to record the video. So yeah, you want that recorded video zoom.
And you want to keep in mind, sometimes you get caught up with what you're seeing on the monitor.
Yeah.
But what this stuff really is for is, hopefully doesn't happen, but if there's an incident that happens, the recorded video is really the stuff that's,
that counts. Yeah.
Yeah, that counts.
Yeah.
So we have all the popular styles in this Angela 9 series. This particular one here is the big eyeball or turret camera. Comes in, of course, the 5 megapixel resolution. And this one here has a 3.3 millimeter to 12 millimeter lens on it. This one is available in the charcoal or the white camera. Next up, the Vandal Dome. Pretty much the same camera, same resolution, same lens, but it comes in the Vandal Dome version. What's nice about this Vandal Dome is that it does have what we call a built-in junction box in there, so you could put all your cables and it's all built in, so there's no additional cost on that. Next one here is the varifocal bullet. Again, basically the same camera, but it comes in the Bolide style. Easier to install. A lot of installers love this camera here. Next one up, we go to our fixed lens eyeball or turret camera. This particular one is available in the 2.8 millimeter lens. This one here also comes in the charcoal and the white version. And
okay, so those are the cameras available, right? We went over switching formats. We also want to go over a little bit the camera features that are in the chips, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and there's a couple ways you can get to these functions. The first one is, and it's pretty important, especially to installers, is control over coax. What does that mean? That means that you are able to get into the on-screen display of the camera from the actual recorder. Prior, other manufacturers, you have to go to the camera. There's a cable on the camera, the one that we showed earlier, and do it that way. But you can do it from the actual DVR or remotely, even if you're using the CMS. Great tool. The other way would be, like I said, is actually on the toggle switch. And I said it was a 5-way. The 5th way is pushing in on the button, and that'll get you to the on-screen display. So I just want to go over a couple terms.
So these are all the
things you might see inside of a camera. Yeah, yeah. Just not necessarily menus, but some are inside the sub menus. But you see these pretty common in not just our cameras, but industry wide. You know, BLC, that's backlight compensation. ATW, that's auto trace white. It's kind of like white balance. It's another version of it. Of course, there's white balance. Auto electronic shutter, AES. A lot of these terms you just see on there and you don't really know what they are. AGC, auto gain control. MIR is mirror, and automatic exposure. So let's go into these settings right here and see what these cameras actually do. Okay. So let's go into our OSD here. Push the button down. There we are. So
Mike, so if I'm the installer, should I mess with this?
I would not. It's very rare that you actually have to go in there. Maybe. So I'll go over the settings. There's a few that you might need, like digital white balance. I'm sorry, white dynamic, digital white dynamic, or things like that that you might need to go into. I do want to cover. I'll get the day-night mode that is pretty important. But let's go in order. So exposure, auto exposure, basically just brightness and exposure mode. And there's 2 modes in there. Backlight compensation, you can adjust the level, and global, which is universal or automatic, basically. That's it for that one. Auto white balance. It's got ATW, which is the auto trace white, right? Which you want. Normally it's auto, you want to go auto. And this is manual. You can see it gets pretty discolored. So auto is always the best. Let's go down to day night. So day night, you see this EXT, right? And then you have auto, and then color and black and white. But the EXT is for external, right? So what that has to do with is the way that the camera captures the light. It has a sensor on it, and the sensor will pick up when it's too dark. If you go auto, then it's going to go by the cameras, the way the camera brings in the light, not so much the sensor. So those 2 modes. Pretty important to know that. That might be maybe one of the only ones you might need to change, if anything.
Go to color.
Let's go up.
So that you can set the camera to color only all the time.
All
right?
the time. It will not turn black and white at night.
So yeah, if it's a well-lit area and you don't want those IRs to turn on.
Yeah.
Then you just leave it on color mode.
Yeah, because you might not need it. Color is always better. Yeah. So let's go back. Let's go down to the next menu.
We got a question here, Mike. What's the difference between control over coax and motorized camera?
So actually, they are the same thing. When you use the motorized camera, you're using control over coax. Some cameras might not have that motorized zoom function, but they still, you access the camera the same way, the same settings.
But motorized, you're controlling the.
Yeah,
you're
motorized, you're controlling the
moving
actual
the
lens.
lens, right?
Yep, yep. So day 9. Did I go to that? I just went to that. Let's go back out. Okay, image enhance. So this is basically just your contrast, sharpness, color gain, digital noise reduction. It's gonna get rid of that fuzz. Mirror, we went over. And this is a pretty important one. Those of you who don't know what digital wide dynamic range is, it's for high light situations. A lot of light in the background, and in the foreground, you just get a shadow. This right here will eliminate that. You see it kind of lighten the picture up. It's different in the sun situations, but that's the other setting you might have to go in and change depending on how it's where it's installed. And then, so video output, most important one. You get a 5 meg camera and you need to switch between those different modes. So we talked about pushing up, down, left, right. That gets you into the different type of modes, right? But let's say you have a 2 megapixel recorder, and not only do you need to switch the mode, but you need to switch the megapixels. So in here is where I can go 1080, frames per second, as well as 4 megapixel and 5. My different, and of course, same thing with the different modes. They're all on top here. So you cannot change the megapixel setting from the joystick alone. You have to go into the OSD. Real important.
So the joystick gets you to the format. This gets you to the resolution.
Exactly, exactly. So let's get out of there. And language, of course, it's pretty self-explanatory. This will default to camera. Always be sure that when you make your setting changes, you want to save it and exit.
So Mike, if I have an analog DVR and I have this camera on 5 megapixel mode, how would I use it with my analog camera?
Awesome. So what you would do is you would hold up on the joystick, which is CVBS, for about 3 seconds, and the screen should flash, and bam, you'll have your camera live on screen.
Analog mode.
Analog mode.
Yep. And then get in the menu.
Then get in the menu, and if you have to do any changes in terms of megapixels, or you can do it from there. Yep. So let's go back over here.
Okay, so now the good stuff. So the cameras are, the cameras, these are great features. A lot of the additions really come with the DVR, right? So
yeah, for sure.
We're talking about better filters for searching, right? Before it's like either constant recording or motion detection.
Yeah.
Now you have analytics, right?
Yep.
Trip lines, there's smart search. There's just many ways to filter out to the clip that you need.
Yeah, find what you're looking for. Yep.
Before we're gonna see all that, we're gonna go on the GUI of the DVR, but let's go over what's available as far as hardware is concerned. Right?
Okay, so in the SVR 9500 series of DVRs, we are going to have available for you the 4-channel, 8-channel, and 16-channel DVRs. Of course, all of these are going to be 5 megapixel. They're going to have the IP hybrid capability, which means you could add IP cameras over the network to them. Also, on this particular line, of course, you're going to have control over Coax, and you're going to have, more importantly, the H.265, which is going to let you, handle the 5 megapixel from the Angelo 9 cameras. This series also has the new and improved GUI that just came out, and that's what Mike's going to talk about.
So go back to that slide, Mike. So do these work with other manufacturers' cameras too? Like our cameras?
For sure, 100%. That's why we have the different modes on our cameras. So you can use the cameras on other recorders and vice versa. So it's a universal.
And then plus IP.
And IP. That's
ONVIF compliant.
ONVIF compliant. Yep.
4K output.
Yep. 4K output, and you can do. I'll get into the cameras, the IP cameras, but that's a very special, awesome tool to have in your bag on your recorder.
Awesome.
So let's get into the new GUI. Couple of functions and features like Ken mentioned. One of the most
video analytics.
awesome things is the video analytics.
Just a little intro on video analytics. So not too long ago, you only get this stuff with IP cameras, right? Before you have to pay for them by buying licenses. And then eventually they become kind of built into the cameras, and then some recorders. Yeah. But now you can add video analytics to analog cameras, whether it's the 5 megapixel new line, or even if you've already installed 2 megapixel cameras in the last couple of years, right? Yep. Even
analog
camera
old
from
analog
10 years ago, you can add video analytics.
Yep. Pretty cool.
That's
so
awesome.
Let's go into our intelligent
so that's the
menu.
The menu. Okay.
Is the menu, yeah. Actually, let's go back. Let's take you guys through the whole how to get there. So of course I right click, go to my.
These are very simple to use.
Main menu, yep, very simple. Main menu, and bam, there's intelligent. Real quick. My channel that I have my camera on right now is 5, and I could turn this switch on, right? And then I'm able to add my lines of how I want to detect. Is my line here.
So what is this one called?
This is our very first one. This one is perimeter intrusion. So anybody goes into a set area, you're gonna get alarms, trigger recording, however you want to utilize this function, or you just wanted to use it for playback, easy finding. There's many ways to use the analytics.
So go into the setup of the perimeter.
So yeah, here's our perimeter. It's very simple. I just draw a line with my mouse. There's my perimeter, bam. And AB, you can set the way you want it to do. You want people coming in to be detected, people coming out to be detected, or do you want both? So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you can set directions.
You can set directions. Yeah, and you can set the area any way you want.
I got a question. When are these cameras available? They're available now. These are the DVRs that we're going over, and the cameras are all available now.
In stock.
So let's go over line crossing detection.
All right, what is line crossing detection?
So let's go in here now. So similar to perimeter intrusion, except for we just have one line instead of a whole box.
Oh, it's a trip line.
It's a trip line. So, and it goes the same way, in, out, or both. You can select that from here. You have to enable the switch, and that's it. You're ready to start detecting.
So application-wise, maybe like an exit, or do not enter.
That's a real good one right there. Do not enter.
You draw a line. You can send a trigger. Can it send emails when there's a trigger?
So yeah, I'll get into that. So.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. So
I'm going too fast.
I don't want to. When I first started messing with the new one, I would get confused under alarm and channel. They're separate. You'll see intelligent here. You'll see intelligent under alarm. So this is channel. Intelligent is to set it up. Alarm is to set what you want it to do. Email, alarm out, record, full screen, and there's a whole, I'll go over some of the things, but you can send it to the cloud video clips, all kinds of new features that are pretty cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, so let's go back to the last one, stationary object detection. That's pretty self-explanatory. I could set this around a object that I do not want to move. If it moves, I'm going to get however I want to set that to come out. Like I said, email, alarm, input, output, you name it. So that would be the.
Is that loitering?
Loitering, yeah, you could do loitering with it, I guess. So it's all the way you want to have it set up. You can get creative with it even. So we talked about our analog cameras doing all kinds of stuff. What about, we talked about now IP cameras on our DVR recorders.
So with analog cameras, you have access to those three analytics, right?
Yeah. So
can you add the analytics to all the cameras? So how many cameras can you add them to?
So you can add it to any analog camera, right? But all the analytics you can do on the IP cameras.
Okay, so there's more analytics.
There's more analytics
on the same DVR.
On the same DVR. Of course, you would have to be using our IP cameras, the NX, which has all the other analytics enabled. So you can see there's a lot. We have stationary object, line crossing, perimeter intrusion, pedestrian detection, pretty cool, face detection, statistics on how many people are crossing back and forth, sound detection, and occlusion detection, which is basically if someone's messing with the camera, gets covered, someone's trying to, then you'll get detections. So let's go into those though. Let's see a little bit more.
We got a question, Mike, here. Is there a buffer to capture a pre-trip? So I'm guessing like a pre-record.
Yeah, kind of like how Motion used to do it. Go back 10 seconds. Yeah, I'll go into it right now. So again, this is to set it up, right? We're going to set up. And if I go to these other ones, you can see there's only an IP camera there. And same rules apply depending on what analytic you're using. Draw a box or it's a line, so forth. Face detection is a little different.
This is if you add an IP camera.
Only if you add an IP camera, you're getting these other analytics. Yeah, face detections, you only want to detect a face in a certain area. Still the same rules apply. You add your square, but you can set which area you want to detect.
So the face detection detects face versus a car or an animal.
Yeah, so it's going to actually detect. It's pretty good at it too. Actually detect a face. It's got to have eyes, nose, a mouth.
They only care about human beings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
What about pedestrian detection?
So pedestrian detection also pretty cool. It's going to actually detect pedestrians. You're not going to have cars going by and get false alarms and stuff like that. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. They also help for searching when you go back and you're searching for the video. I want to go through a couple more of these. So the live, of course, if you're familiar with our recorders, all that stuff is the same. Might be in a different location, but it's pretty much the same area. Image control, this is going to allow you to change settings on the IP cameras. Pretty much all the settings we went through earlier on the OSD of the analog cameras is here on the IP cameras. PTZ functions, you can see here this Coax 1 is by default. That's what you're going to have to switch to get your control over Coax. So keep that in mind. Video cover, which is basically privacy zones. Motion, this is setting up motion. Like I said, this is all the setup. This is not how you want it to record or not. Motion, if you're unfamiliar, the red area is what is detected. If it's not red, it's not going to capture that motion. PIR, we now have PIR cameras. I don't have any on this particular recorder, but this would be where you set that up. Same, just like motion, you block out the areas that you want to detect. And here's a new one, deterrence. So again, with our floodlight camera, it has a siren, speaker, and the light. This is where you set that up, where you want those detections to take place. And we went over intelligent. So record, the whole separate thing in itself. Record is where you're going to get allowed to change the H.265. I'm going to go over that as well, what that actually means. Frames per second, resolution, set to 2 megapixels right here. Where's my camera I have plugged in? So you can see here, I can go all the way down to my 5 meg options. But this is another really important option, enhanced time recording. So this is basically boost recording. Come back over here. If I check this off, that's where it is. If I uncheck it, you'll see that that whole line goes away. But once I check it, I get a new line. Slide back over here. Okay, so I set my regular recording to 1080 at 2 frames per second. But if I get motion, it's going to jump up to 5 megs, 10 frames per second. So boost recording basically save you a lot of time, hard drive space, a lot. And of course, substream and mobile stream, those are all the same settings. Schedule. Everybody, if you're familiar with our recorders, you got to set a schedule to when you want those recordings to take place. If you notice, we now have PIR here, which previously was not an option. So you can set that on the schedule as well. Capture, that's still screenshots. Yeah, still take pictures of what's going on. And its capture has its own schedule as well. So alarm, here's the other really important function. So under alarm, you have motion, PIR, input, output, intelligent, PTZ linkage, and exception. This is where you'll not only set up or enable your alarm, but what you want the alarm to do when it detects. So motion alarm, do you want it to trigger an input output? Do you want it to record? Do you want it to show a message, send an email, go to a full screen, upload it FTP, or do a video upload to the cloud? And we also have a new cloud function that's pretty cool. I'll go over that in a bit. But same thing with PIR, input output. Intelligent, it looks very similar to the setup channel or setup menu, but it's not. It has the same headings up here, but this is exactly like motion. You're going to set up what you want it to do when these things are triggered or detected. And again, you have a whole bunch of different.
What is CC?
So CC, cross counting. So this is going to give you a count. Counting, yeah. How many people went in, how many people went out. You'll get.
That's a really good analytic, right?
It is.
For retail.
It is.
You want to know how many people walk in the store?
And you also get.
You can use it only for just for IP cameras, right?
Just for IP cameras. Okay. And it also gives you a report. You can do report up under channel.
Intelligent analysis.
Yep. So this will report how many were in, how many were out. You can do a daily report, weekly report, monthly report, annual report. You know, if you have that much hard drive space.
Can you go back to accounting?
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. Setup. So do you draw a line?
You draw a line.
And save. So save it.
It's already saved.
Okay, and then.
Yeah. As people cross through it, it'll count. On the live screen, you'll see at the top left, you'll see an in and an out with numbers on it, indicating how many people have went in and went out. Let's go to alarm. So PTZ linkage, that's going to be for a new option that's coming soon. An exception, this is another important one because we get a lot of calls that my DVR is beeping, my NVR is beeping and it won't stop. This is where you will look. The reason why it beeps is for one of three reasons. You're out of disk space, you have an error on the disk, and the most common, which 95% of the time, is video loss. So in here is where you'll go and you can turn that buzzer off. It won't beep no more. Just keep in mind that when you do that, it's doing it for a reason. So you want to find out what that reason is. So let's go to network really quick. Network, usual stuff. Port configuration. You don't have to worry about 3G or PPOE. Those are settings that for other reasons. DHCP will be enabled by default. Yeah, don't have to worry about any of this stuff, but if you do, it's here. DDNS, no one's using DDNS anymore.
That's the best thing about these DVRs. You don't need to
set up anything.
IP or
yeah.
Set up a DDNS, right?
Yeah, yep. It's going to be all out of the box, plug it in and ready to go. But some instances you might need to come in here. This is where you'll find that stuff. Emails, so configuration first. You get that from your service provider, fill that out, and then you can set a schedule of what you want to get emailed to you. PIR, different options, not only motion. FTP, that's a files transfer protocol. That's basically an off on the network, or it can be off the network as well, but it's another location you can send files to. That's basically what that is, and it has its own schedule. Same things apply. IP filter, that's another new option. You can actually whitelist and blacklist IP addresses that you don't want to be being able to log into this recorder. That's pretty useful. So let's go to device. Here's where you format your disk, and there's a couple new options in here as well. Actually, they're not new, but you might not be aware that we have them. Groups, disk groups, you can actually set groups to say 2 groups, 3 groups to certain cameras. The reason that's there is for throughput. It'll help the recorder record a little bit faster, setting groups, or if you just want to section off your cameras. And this last option is smart. So this is going to give you just an overview of how your hard drive's doing. It's going to run simple tests, make sure there's no errors going on, make sure your hard drive's good, and you have no problems. And I said we had a new feature on our cloud. So still Dropbox, but the new feature is now you can do video clips before we can just do snapshots.
Is that your primary recording or just backup?
So it's going to be a backup. So you use it as a fail-safe. Someone steals the recorder or something goes on, you know you have some video that's in the cloud that's not at the location that you know no one touched. That's a real important tool.
You set up a Dropbox.
Yep. Yep. Just keep in mind that when you're doing video, it's a lot larger. You're going to take up a lot of space.
So yeah. They offer you like a certain amount for free, right?
Yeah, you think I'm to forget what it is now, maybe two gigs or something like that. But you can go way larger. It's a paid subscription. So last system, let's go to general. So it's going to give you typical information about your recorder, time and date, of course, 24 hours. You can set your daylight savings. If you NTP, you can use the default one, or if you have your own, you can add that. Output configuration. This is the output display, very important. This right here is what your TV sees. So if I set this to 4K and I don't have a 4K monitor or TV, I'm not going to be able to pull the screen up. So we recommend and we send them out by default at 1280 by 1024, which is pretty universal. You can plug that thing in and it's going to come up. Then you can up it to 4K or whatever they have. But that's a pretty safe output to keep it at until you get or find out what the customer has that you need to set it to. Yeah, everything else is the same, pretty self-explanatory. Users, multi-user mode. You can add 7 users. You can go ahead and set up your password.
Mike, we gotta ask a question. Is there a setting that notifies if someone is trying to hack in?
So
hack into us, meaning somebody's trying to log on to your device.
So that's kind of what
don't share a password.
Yeah, don't share a password for sure. Don't share a password.
But there's a way to check activity on this machine, right?
So the best way I'd say to combat that would be utilize the whitelist, blacklist. What was it at? Where was it at? Alarm. We just went over it. Can't find it. But that allows you to just block out IPs completely. You don't want someone looking in. It's another security layer on top of just the username, password, address. You can also just, if they know all that, block them out. Yeah. Maintenance, this is going to do automatic. Actually, this is the log first. This will tell you who logged in, like Ken was talking about, IPs, all that good stuff. Yeah. I mean, anything that you need is going to be on this log. It's a very good tool, very good friend to you.
Okay, so this is the GUI.
This is
nice, easy to use.
Yeah.
Now we want to make this smarter, but and more advanced, but easier to use, right?
Yep.
Last part of the webinar, we're running time. We're going to go over the remote access.
Yes.
Part of it, right?
Yeah.
How easy is it to get this DVR on my cell phone or my computer?
Yeah, so really easy. So one of the best friends that you're going to have in your bag as an installer or even as a distributor, you want to make sure that you let everybody know that there's a CMS, client software to this recorder, or all of our recorders for that matter. The CMS allows you to add multiple recorders, multiple cameras.
So this is a software packed in with the.
Yep, it's free, of course. Let me move this over real quick. Okay, so here's our CMS. And if I come over here to my group device management. So my group device management, it's behind my other screen here. Here we go. Okay. Make sure you guys can see this too. Hold on, let me switch this over. Okay, so group device management allows me to add all my cameras and recorders. Real easy. There's two ways to add it. I have add online device, right? This is going to be if you're on site, just finish the install. It's time to get it on the customer's computer. You can hit add online device. It's the easiest. Doesn't get no easier than this. It's going to show me everything that's on the network, camera, recorder wise. All I have to do is select it. You see it populate here. Add selected device, give it a name and username and password, right? It's the recorder. I have them on here already. And then bam, that's it.
So how many devices do you have on there right now?
So I have a lot of devices. Very many. Once I get on there, I import all, and then I could see all of them. Let's go take a look at that.
Like, so go to. Do you need a static IP address or a DNS? Do I need any of that?
No. So if you
do I need to sign up for an account for my P2P?
Nothing at all. All you do is add an online device. You'll see right here. There's a login type. You want to make sure that that is on P2P, which means it's not using an IP address. It's using the QR code that's on top of the recorder or inside the information tab. And that's, I mean, that easy. All you have to do is click. It's going to give you all the information. You can see what camera it is or what device it is, MAC address, actual P2P ID, and IP for that matter, but we're using the P2P to log in.
Or if you're not in the network.
So if you're not in the network, that's the second way to add it. So you're going to add device, give it a name, of course, and then IP ID is going to be your QR code. They come in different, either CHAA, or they come in different numbers and letters. I'm pretty sure if you're familiar with our recorders, you know what I'm talking about.
Click on one as an example.
Yeah, so once I fill all that out, you'll see this.
That's an IP address.
Yeah, let's go to another one. Might be IP2. These are local, but here is a. Right. So here's basic information for a P2P device. That's it. Once I hit OK and import all, I'm ready to go. Close that out.
So I don't need an IP address. I don't need an IP
You don't need an IP address. No longer have to worry about IP addresses. No longer have to worry about port forwarding.
What if my customer changes the router or internet provider?
Even then, even on a IP router change or a service provider change, still plug and play. The only time you really have to worry about really using an IP is on really complex networks where they have you know, firewalls, and at that point I'm pretty sure they have an IT guy, and so you really don't have to worry about anything. And I can display all my cameras. There's my two cameras.
How many cameras can you see on your screen?
So I can see up to 128 cameras at one time, and that's from different recorders if I want. But 128 cameras, that's a lot. Awesome. Yeah. So, and this also goes for the Quick Connect app. Same way. It's a simple.
Okay, so cell phone app. I don't need to do any networking.
Nothing at all. Once you plug a recorder in, your job's pretty much done. All you have to do is scan or type that number in. It's, you know, we pride ourselves on how easy this Quick Connect app is. It's very, very, very simple. We have, if you don't have the new version, there's a lot of functions on it that weren't previously there. You can do a lot like of settings from the app now that you weren't previously able to do. But yeah, plug it into your switch, your router, and that's it.
And that's the app called
Quick Connect is the app. Yep.
Okay. One app
for everything.
DVRs,
NVRs, cameras. Keep in mind that the cameras actually also have Quick Connect. It's not just the recorders. So the cameras also have a QR code you can scan and get online. So you have 3 ways to use that CMS.
How many users can add a device onto their cell phone?
So it doesn't matter. As many users as possible. We had before we had limitations. We don't no longer have that. So yeah, you can have all your customers, or you as an installer, if you are an installer, have all your customers on your CMS or your phone and be able to do remote diagnostics from anywhere. Yeah.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the presentation there. So recap, video analytics on this stuff, on analog cameras at 5 meg, 4 meg analog. You've got cameras that work with almost any DVR that's out there, right?
Yep.
And of course, like we going back to what we mentioned, we want to make it technologically advanced, but still simple to use and easy to teach.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so all right, here's our contact information. Thank you guys for preparing this webinar. We're gonna leave it open for questions for a few minutes, but here is our information. Okay, we got a phone number, website, email addresses, Facebook, YouTube, and we're also on Twitter. But as a gesture for joining us on today's webinar, call us and mention that you joined the webinar, and we'll give you a special discount on any of the DVRs and cameras that we went over on this video. All right, so guys, let's answer some more questions. Our tech support hours. So our tech support hours, Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. Pacific to 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Mike, is there a Mac?
There is. It's a good question. There is a Mac version. By the way, all this stuff can be found on our website as well. There is a Mac version of the CMS. So yeah, we have a lot of installers, customers, and users that only use Mac. Yeah, we have a Mac version of the CMS.
Warranty, Manny?
Warranty is 3 years on all of our cameras and recorders. So yeah, if anything's wrong with your recorder or cameras within those first 3 years, you could contact us and send that equipment in, and we'll either repair it or replace it.
Hey guys, this webinar is also being recorded, so we'll put this up on our YouTube page, and feel free to forward this to a friend, coworker,
Employees.
customer, employees. We'd appreciate that. Okay, so we don't see any more questions, so let's just wrap it up. Again, thanks guys for joining us today, and we will see you on the next webinar.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.